OMS girl, Evie from OurOM2hands. Holistic, sustainable, abundant intentions and actions. Today I have my really good friend Willow, Mainprize, and she is a Reiki master teacher from from the Asui Holy Fire Karuna Reiki teacher practitioner. So she has some really interesting background that I want to share and ask her questions about from her personal experience that brought her into being a Reiki master and teacher, and she's also my Reiki master and teacher and really good friend. So I'm really happy to have her here today. And she also has two businesses that are established. One is the Rocky Mountain Botanicals that was originally begun by her mother, and also RoseWillowReiki, which she has with her cousin. So we're going to go into a bit of that as well. So yeah, so how are you doing today?
Thank you. Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So you're a third generation holistic or alternative healing practitioner.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. So can you go into a little bit of who in your family and how that sort of influenced you maybe to want to also or be open to alternative healing and just kind of what that story looks like?
So my grandmother, very spiritual lady, she
That's your maternal?
Yes,
yeah.
My maternal grandmother. She was she did acupressure and reflexology back in the day when that was kind of really outside of the box. Now I feel like it's a lot more common. And
that was in British Columbia,
I think in Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah, and then BC eventually. But she worked with in hospitals with special needs children and adults.
Wow.
And a lot of children that were given up. Basically, I wouldn't say it was an orphanage, but it was.
And was she a nurse originally?
She was, yes. And so, and she was also a foster mother, and she fostered many mentally and physically disabled children and adults. And so.
And you had met her, like you had a relationship with her?
I was very close to my grandmother.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Very much so. Her name is Fern.
Cool.
Gardner. And so, yeah, my grandmother was very much into also the indigenous cultures of Canada, and so she had
she go to sweat lodges and
all that stuff. So we actually toured medicine circles as a family. We would go and spend time in the medicine circles. I think they call them powwows now, but
but she wasn't like by blood native. Like
no, not at all. We are very white. Very white. Yeah. Not that matters, but yeah, I just think because
she was open.
She was just drawn to that world and that connection to earth and spirit.
Not medicine and
absolutely.
That actually helps people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a belief system in many ways, and so although we never were into organized religion per se, that was something that she was really drawn to. And then my mother was, she was a therapeutic touch practitioner, and so she would go and volunteer in the hospitals for people that were dying, people in palliative care, in particular people who were coming to their end of life and didn't have any visitors and their family wasn't present. So she felt compelled to go in and offer therapeutic touch, which is another energy therapy to those people. And
so both a lot of compassion too.
Yeah.
A lot of heart, a lot of
wanting
to help.
Absolutely. My mother always said, our greatest purpose for being here is to help others, and I think she really embodied that, and so did my grandmother. And that's something that was very much talked about in my family, was trying to be of service in as many ways as possible.
Right. And so then your mom also, so she begun the Rocky Mountain Botanicals.
Yeah, so
to help with pain.
Exactly. So just seeing in our family in particular, there was a lot of people that were getting cancer, and my grandmother had osteoporosis and arthritis from a very young age, and that impacted her. She lived the majority of her life in a great deal of pain.
Fern did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fern, and my family was always very much holistically health-minded, so my mother ended up starting a line of medicinal body care products, and she would go to, this was in the shoe shop, so she would go and do the local little little trade shows and farmers markets and stuff, and then word kind of spread about how wonderful her products were, especially
and all natural.
And all natural, absolutely, and how effective they were. And so, and then when she passed, I was kind of, orders were coming in, and I was like, okay, my brothers were like, you have to do this, you have to, you have to fill these orders, and I was like, didn't know what I was doing. Because it really does help people and animals too, horses as well. Yeah, I ended up kind of branching off and doing some holistic approaches for animals as well, but so I kind of got thrown into it, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but then seeing how these products had helped people, and the feedback, and really the grief that kind of came along with the people when my mother had passed, because it was so suddenly, and just being, your mother really made an impact in my life and stuff, and so I felt kind of compelled to continue
the calling.
I mean, at first I was like, I don't know, but once you start seeing the impact that the products are making on people, then I got inspired, and so I continued with her products, and kind of along the way made them my own. So.
Because which is so amazing, and I'm glad that you still have it, and it still continues to help a lot of people. That's really, really amazing. So with your mom and your dad, they both passed. You were quite young. Right?
So my father passed from cancer when I was 14, and my mother passed from cancer when I was 28.
And it's you and your brother, so you both had to kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
Because before that, you hadn't done any
energy
alternative healing.
No, I received many treatments from my mom, but I thought I was going to be an actress. I was living downtown Vancouver, going to acting classes, exactly. And I thought that was going to be, that was my calling, because I was in theater and acting from a very young age.
And you loved to express
from
yourself.
the time that I was 10, and
but energy, whatever.
Exactly, and it was fun for me, and then at one point it stopped being fun, and I felt a higher calling to do, to do really the energy work. And
right, because the grief that you had, because it was a lot, right? That's young,
I think I think losing the people that we love is incredibly
no matter
traumatic.
what time, but especially in general, under 30 or whatever.
I think when you're a child, losing my father was just so unexpected, and it was so quick. So that definitely made a huge impact, and I had a lot of anger and a lot of grief, and looking back, I was like, okay, I was not processing this in a healthy way, and you see how that not processing those feelings
manifests and
kind of creates challenges later on in life. And then, of course, my greatest fear was losing my mother, and then she got cancer over Christmas, basically, and was gone by January. I mean, obviously she had it for some time before then, but that's when we knew what was going on.
The information, and it went fast,
and that was just my greatest fear coming to life. And so, I was absolutely traumatized, and
so where in there did you seek out healing, and how did Reiki or the alternative healing find you to be able for your own healing?
Well, I was aware of energy therapy before, through my mother, obviously.
And with your grandmother.
And I always had a sensitivity to
touch,
energy, I felt it, and I did actually, with my mom's teachings, do a little bit of energy therapy, and I was working with my horse at the time, who Pippin, who was just one calamity after another, and he was a rescue, and he was constantly falling ill, just bad genetics, basically. And so I would often use energy to heal him, and not to heal him, but to offer him some comfort. And I would see how animals don't lie. So I would see how he would respond, and he would just relax, and he would, you know, almost fall asleep, and then he'd come over and lick your hands, and you know, and he'd snuggle in, and he'd just be like, thank you, like whatever that was so comforting to him, and he was clearly feeling it and clearly responding to it. So I said,
and
okay.
It's different than just petting, like, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
I just was kind of
like, you had the intention of just giving, like, love or healing.
Yeah, and just seeing, like I said, animals don't lie. And so I was like, okay, maybe I should look at energy work to support him further and actually get some training. And so that's what I did.
Was that in the midst of your grief, or it was kind of all a process?
Well, I think once I had the tools to address the grief, I think energy work is definitely one of the tools to help to support me and just to feel supported.
Right.
And to help soften those hard edges of my grief. So yeah, absolutely, it was hugely instrumental.
And did your cousin already do Reiki at the time? Like,
well, funny enough, I was like, we're having dim sum, and I was like, I want to do energy. Like, I think I'm going to go do Reiki. Because the therapeutic touch, there was some things about that didn't really appeal to me as much as the Reiki.
Didn't resonate as much.
Exactly. Yeah. And she was like, well, funny enough, I just took my level 1, and we were like, what? So funny, right? And so
is she a cousin from your maternal side?
She's no, from my paternal.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So and so it was just funny, and so she gave me a name of a teacher, not her teacher, but a teacher that was recommended here, Stacy, at Lotus Realm Wellness. A little plug for Stacy. Love her. Wonderful woman. So grateful for her in my life. And so I went and took my level 1 with her, and then I was hooked, and I started working with my horse and using it as a personal practice and a personal meditation
on
practice
yourself,
on myself and with my animal, and it was just like this whole world opened up, and you realize that we have so much more support than we realize.
Right. So in this other paradigm, other thing that you don't really necessarily see in a pragmatic way, but there's other levels of energy or
I mean, there's just so much more out there than our
perception.
Limited 5 senses can perceive, right? And so just feeling that connection to source and feeling empowered and supported and taken care of was really life-changing for me.
So it helped you through your grief, but then it also helped you
Absolutely.
to find
I think we're always going to be, like when we experience trauma, we're always that's going to always be a part of us.
Right.
But I felt with Reiki, like I said, it just softened those hard edges. It kind of quelled that storm that I always felt was kind of raging, the anger.
Right.
And
helped
the
you
sorrow. It's just
even if it's still
and it
there,
gives you perspective as well.
Yeah, less intense.
I mean, that's a part of my story,
yeah.
Right? Losing my parents, but
it doesn't totally define you. I mean, it's part of
your
story.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have a choice what defines you and what just kind of helps make up the little pieces of you, right? And we have to be careful with how that defines us. Are we going to be angry and resentful, or are we going to find our grace in those moments of despair
and learn lessons too?
Exactly, and lessons. And life is a bitch. It's challenging, right? Like it's not all rainbows and all, and there's absolutely it's a beautiful thing, but it's largely challenging. And I just find Reiki, especially in a daily practice, that meditation and setting that intention to open up to source and healing can completely shift your day, and those days turn into months and years, and then looking back it's like, oh, it's a lifetime of of just expansion and bringing in that self-awareness and that compassion and love, and not only for yourself but everybody else in the world, right?
And so do you find, two last things about that experience of your parents passing, do you find that it also shifted your views on sort of like your paradigm all shift? Like I know you didn't grow up religious, but just becoming even more kind of spiritual, quote unquote, or just, like you said, aware of other sort of levels of energy or aspects of light or love or whatever, like did it, and that maybe also brought you more open to Reiki, or was the Reiki?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we experience any sort of challenges in life or trauma,
especially a life-death one, right?
Yeah, or the people that you love are no longer there, and like where did they go?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And also like feeling them around me even though they weren't physically there.
Right.
But yeah, I think you start, when you experience those challenges in life, I think you start asking those existential questions. Like, why are we here? What's the purpose of life? And all that. And so you do kind of fall down that rabbit hole of sorts. And so, yes, I think because of having to ask those existential questions at a young age, and then again, when I was 28, what is life and where does it go, and is this it? Is there a bigger picture? That sort of thing. And I think you do start finding your way, and you start being attracted to things that will help you understand those big questions. And for me, that was Reiki. Absolutely.
And do you think also, last question about that, and then we'll ask more about your teaching, but do you think that also it's helped you to just be able to have a deeper compassion for people, whether it's grief or whether it's other areas of their life that have that sort of intensity of pain, whether it's emotional, physical, to be able to offer that, like, as a Reiki master teacher, I know the energy moves through you, but I think as a person you still have to have some compassion in order to let the energy move or something, right?
I think you want to help people first and foremost. You want to
because you know that kind of pain.
And then and funny enough, I do tend to get people that are struggling with grief. That just happen. I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of delightful and strange how the universe kind of puts certain people in your path. So I do tend to get clients that are, dealing with grief and loss and huge transitions. And I think having gone through that myself, I can offer a bit more support because I have my own experiences to draw from. That being said, though, Reiki is far more intelligent than I will ever be. So I don't necessarily need to understand what you're going through in order for Reiki to be of service to you and for you to have that healing experience. But yes, I think when we go through our own challenges and heartaches and traumatic things of that nature, then we do open up. It does open up that place of compassion and
especially
love.
if we
it should.
Our own our own cracks or our own scars or whatever you want to call it. Like as we embrace that, then we can be more compassionate for ourselves, and then we can offer that to others more easily. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you kind of, from my perspective, I took some time to become a practitioner because I recognized that in order for me to help someone else, I kind of have to help myself first, right? It's that old adage where, like, when you're on a plane and it's going down, the mother puts her,
one of my favorite quotes,
puts the oxygen mask on before the child, because if you pass out and you're not taking care of you, there's no way you can be any assistance to your child. So, so yes, I mean, you do. When I'm teaching, I go. It is level 1 is for self-healing. Right? And then the level 2 is the practitioner level. Many people take their level 2 and never choose to treat others, and that's totally fine. So, yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
So do you find then with being a practitioner, there's certain obstacles that come up, or that you've learned how to kind of deal with, I guess, like whether it's boundary things or just certain things that have come up that have forced you to sort of tweak maybe how you do
what we
your
call it
lessons, not lessons, how you do your sessions.
I think you're always learning. That's why they call it a Reiki practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to use the term Reiki master because I feel I like to say practitioner and teacher simply because we're never going to master this practice because I just feel like it's just so, like I said, like our five senses and our limited brain cannot possibly comprehend the infinite beauty and love that we're accessing when we are channeling, giving, or receiving Reiki. So, but yes, it's very important. I think it's important for everybody to set boundaries, healthy boundaries, right? Usually when you're somebody who is from a very early age, there's the people that lift up, that are the people that lift up others in the world and have that calling to service. Yeah, the helpers. And I think it's very easy for those helpers and those people feeling compelled to help others and do the healing work for others is it's so easy to put yourself last. And so there are many lessons where you have to learn to set boundaries and I respect myself enough and I love myself enough to make sure that yes, I do say no, and I always have a chat with the person before I do a session or before they become one of my students, because it's like, okay, am I the right teacher or practitioner for you? And do I feel like I can be of service to you where you're at and what you're asking for help? And just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And absolutely. Hopefully that makes sense.
Sure. And so did you feel called then to go into teaching, or how did you
I never thought I would be teaching or let alone practicing on people. I literally was just for my own personal practice, and it was for we're helping my animals really, and then things just kind of progressed and
at the same time your cousin was progressing. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Because
how long has the RoseWillowReiki been?
That's a very good question. I think probably 3 years maybe. Yeah, going into 3 years.
Yeah.
So she's teaching a different. She's teaching the Isui Reiki, and she has a very busy practice. And I now teach the Isui Holy Fire. And so we're offering different classes, but I think that was what makes our combined practice so strong is because we're offering a variety of things, and people are drawn to what they're drawn to, and there are very many branches of Reiki. Right. You have different kinds of Reiki in the world, so I think people should do their research and find out which one is right for them and what they're intuitively drawn to, and go from there.
But the Isui is also how you were trained first. That was the
lineage. So Isui is the original Reiki.
Can you go a little bit into that?
Sure. Yeah. So energy therapy's been practiced. Some forms have been practiced throughout history that we know. So it was a Buddhist in Japan who went on a pilgrimage, long story short. And
that was around the 1700s?
It was in the late 1800s, actually. And he went on a fast and kind of like a vision quest and went up the mountain, Mount Kurma, and downloaded this energy in his meditations, and then started going out and practicing it among the people there in his town, and then eventually started teaching it.
Because it was effective. It was
effective. Yeah, absolutely.
Helping people with ailments, but also mental, emotional.
Absolutely. There was actually a big earthquake that devastated that part of Japan And thousands of people died and many were injured, obviously, and so that's where his notoriety came in, because he started treating people freely if they wanted it, and the feedback, he was helping people, and so I think there was people wanting to learn, curious, what are you doing? And so he eventually started teaching, and it was very much, he didn't really, it was very much like a personal healing practice. It was just like how to be a good person in life, and you had your Reiki ideals, like I will not anger, and I will love my neighbor, and those sort of things. And it was very much how to be a good, healthy, centered, grounded person in the world, and how to treat others as if you wanted to be treated, essentially. And so it was very much that kind of practice. And
which are kind of core values you see sometimes in other
religions. Exactly.
Right? Even
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. The ideals are not, the Reiki ideals, the 5 precepts that we call them, are not, or principles, they're not mind-blowing. It's things that we've heard.
Right.
They're basic.
Yeah.
Be a good person kind of ideals. So.
But important.
Absolutely.
And not always as straight of a line to follow.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there was a Japanese lady who was treated by who we call Sui Sensei, and she ended up getting her teacher status, but, and then brought it back to Hawaii. And
which island?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure. And so brought it to Hawaii, and then that's when she started actually teaching. That's when it essentially came to North America.
And that was the early 1900s at that point?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you practice a lot of that, and so does your cousin, but then you also more recently got into the Holy Fire.
So the Holy Fire is, so as we evolve as humans, and the world evolves, I believe that new energies are constantly being grounded. As we raise our vibration, new frequencies are being grounded to assist us with that. And so Holy Fire is one of these
newer.
So we have the Asui Foundation, and we're still we're still teaching the same principles, and it's the same practice, same traditional hand placements, all of those things. We're just the energy we're using is a different energy. To me, it's more potent, it's more concentrated, it's more transformative.
But either one, it's never your energy. You're the facilitator.
You're the channeler, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're just
a conduit to allow it to come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you find with either the Holy Fire or the Asui that you have different clients or people that come to you? Because you said that people are drawn to different
so the Holy Fire is not going to probably appeal to everyone, especially those with any sort of religious trauma, because when we say Holy Fire, we are talking about Christ consciousness.
Okay.
We are,
but not necessarily in a religious way.
No, in a completely non-religious way.
Yeah.
But I feel there's this resurgence of people talking about Jesus Christ and who he was as a person, as a man, and not the way the church and organized religion has manipulated his story for their own gain, essentially. So we're dealing with that, what he stood for, which was love and compassion and respect for all beings. And so when we say Holy Fire, it is that
deep connection.
It is that compassion. That we're igniting in ourselves and in those we treat.
And do you find then clients have different ailments or different things that they come for either?
Yeah, I have people that come for pain. I have people that come for
physical pain.
Physical pain, physical pain.
You mentioned grief before.
Grief. People that are going through, just transformative.
Right. Like moving jobs or moving houses.
Yeah, or breakups, or feeling stuck.
Right.
or just wanting to connect to source.
Yeah.
In a
you
more...
have gift certificates too, so people buy also for their
yes,
family
I
or
have,
friends.
yes, exactly.
That too,
people gift it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, so they definitely, they've given sessions as gifts, and I have packages.
Yeah. And you've also, because your boyfriend works at Air Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, so you also brought it a little bit into...
I did!
Yeah.
Air Canada was so progressive, I couldn't believe it. So they just approached him, because he does Reiki as well. And they approached him and said, hey, because he goes to work and does Reiki on people, right? And
like volunteer.
People are like, I don't know what you're doing, but it feels great, and I feel so much better. So it's funny because he's like shameless about it. He's like, come here, come here, big burly guy, like I'll totally let me just work on that shoulder for you. And then people are like kind of taken aback because it's very strange, and they're not familiar with energy.
They're not used to it.
They're not used to it, and so anyways, but yeah, word started getting around, and people were starting to ask for it more, and then Air Canada had me come in and...
At the airport at YVR?
Had me come in and work on their team there.
Cool.
For a whole day. So
I think I did... people that worked for Air Canada?
Yeah. And it was for a health and safety week.
Cool.
So they had a massage therapist in as well, and
just more holistic approaches.
And I was like, go Air Canada.
Yeah.
So progressive, and I loved it. And it was like speed Reiki, because I was working on I think I saw 18 people, and it was over an 8-hour day, and it was just 20-minute sessions.
Right.
So
normally your sessions are an hour to 90 minutes.
They are an hour.
An hour.
And if I go over, they're a minimum of 60. If I go a little bit over, because I feel like a bit more work needs to be done, then so be it. So that was interesting for me.
To do so quick. And
to do it was like speed Reiki.
Yeah. Because there is more Reiki in kind of commercial settings, right? Like, we're seeing more in hospitals in parts of the States. I don't know in Europe, I'm not sure, but...
Europe tends to be a bit more progressive than we are.
Okay, so they're seeing more Reiki in the hospitals in Europe?
I'm not sure about Europe, but I just, they're a little bit more open to this stuff.
I know with herbs, and a lot of the doctors do study nutrition.
Exactly. So, and when you're looking at especially the Nordic countries, they tend to be way ahead of the game when it comes to holistic health and stuff. But so I think 10 years ago there was something like 500 hospitals in North America offering some sort of energy therapy. Right.
And people come in, or it's nurses that are also Reiki practitioners?
So you have a lot of nurses. So therapeutic touch, which is what my mom originally did, was developed by nurses. So it's energy therapy. So essentially it is Reiki, but it's a little bit more clinical, whereas Reiki is a bit more of a spiritual practice. So that's why I went.
And the therapeutic touch is a little bit of your own energy too, right?
That's another thing, yes. I feel like you are kind of using your own energy a little bit with therapeutic touch, which is why my mother was so exhausted after treating people, and I think she was using, I don't think that's, don't take offense, people that are totally doing therapeutic touch, but from my personal perspective, from my personal experience, I like the idea of channeling higher energy and keeping my energy out of it, my limited, mucky energy, mucky being like we're a complicated person, we have
we're like you said,
bad days,
is a lot bigger than us, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you're channeling. I think our energy, just living, we're limited beings, and so I really liked the idea of channeling something that was unlimited.
Right.
And so in the hospitals you have therapeutic touch and Reiki. Right. So this was 10 years ago, 500 hospitals in North America, and primarily it was a part of, it was a supportive offering for those that were going through cancer and chemo, to offset the chemo side effects, essentially, and just bring more peace to the people that were going through this huge, tumultuous, threatening experience. So even I believe at the one downtown Vancouver on Broadway, the cancer hospital there. Is it Women's?
I think so.
They have.
I don't know hospitals very well.
Me either. I haven't been in a lot of them, thankfully.
I got one.
Totally. So they offer Reiki and therapeutic touch for the patients.
So do you think it is beneficial then to bring it a bit into the mainstream, or what do you think?
I think that's where we're headed.
Right.
I think we're looking at
because
our health
so
and well-being. Yeah, I think we're looking at our health and we're quantum physics. It's science now. We are made up of energy.
Even Einstein said that, right?
Exactly.
Like,
So old news, but finally, people
we're
just know that now.
To that knowledge, that truth, right?
And that we are energy, and that energy can be
moved or
moved and changed and manipulated and in good ways, hopefully. Is what I hope you're doing. And I think we're realizing that Western medicine isn't really offering us all the answers.
Right. Because there's still a lot of people that are like chronically sick, right?
Yeah, and I think you've got
other avenues as well.
Yeah, I think we're looking at nutrition. We're looking at just think of acupuncture. Acupuncture. I mean, Reiki's still quite outside of the box for some people, and you look at acupuncture, and that was
it's moving energy as well.
Exactly, and you're working with the same centers and the same elements of the body that you're working with Reiki. You're just not using needles.
Right.
You're using a less invasive approach. But back in the day, acupuncture was just this wild idea, right? And now it's covered under medical,
right?
Because we know.
Yeah, because some of those Eastern
we know that they work.
Medicine, and they have been working for thousands of years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we're headed in that direction where Reiki is.
And you think it's good, right, to have more of that integrative and.
I mean, there's just I think we have to look at nutrition. We have to look at our energetic body. We have this circulatory system, the blood that's running through our body, and we have an energetic system that's running through our body that's just as integral to our well-being, not only physically but emotionally and spiritually. So I think people we're kind of waking up and realizing that there's more supportive approaches to nurturing our well-being than maybe we've dabbled in before. And I think it is mainly because Western medicine Western medicine is awesome. I'm a big supporter, obviously. I have a general, I have a doctor myself. I think it's important that we go when we see our doctor, right? And when needed,
for blood work.
And when needed, we sometimes having some pharmaceuticals, to support, our body and at certain times, but.
Not to rely maybe only on
I mean, in our philosophy, in an Ayurvedic standpoint, usually any sort of illness that manifests in the body is kind of the last manifestation, the last stage of something that's going on energetically. So it's my belief that when we're not processing our traumas, our emotions, people are running around with this, we gotta be positive, and I'm like, well, but we also have to own our feelings. We're complicated human beings, and
to move into the pain so you can work through it.
Let's acknowledge that we have our crummy days, and that we feel sad and angry and lost and confused. I'm all for being positive and stuff, but we also have to acknowledge that we have the kaleidoscope of emotions, and we're supposed to, and that's life, and so we have to acknowledge.
Because pains are also tools to tell you certain things, right? It's almost like communication.
Right? I know, when I'm stressed out, I'm physically feeling, like when I get anxious, I'm getting nauseous.
Right.
Like our body responds to our emotions.
Right. Which reminds you, it's communicating, saying, hey, slow down.
You have to tune, and that's what Reiki does, is it allows us to tune into our body and listen to our body and, what needs to be addressed. So I feel like if we can find more ways to process our emotions and the challenging times in our life and have more self-awareness around them and more supportive therapies like Reiki to help us move through them.